This is a special presentation from the Brighton Central School District Board of Education.
Good evening. Welcome to the Brighton Central School District Board of Education business meeting and budget hearing for Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. This meeting is called to order. Dr. Lee? We will start with, as always, our Brighton Believers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. This is always our most exciting part of the meeting, although feel free to stick around for the whole thing if you'd like to. It's really dynamite. But it's exciting to begin by talking about the great things that are happening in this community and the wonderful people that are making it happen. As always, we remind people that the Brighton Beliefs Council selects nominees to receive these awards for demonstrating the Brighton beliefs of integrity, respect, responsibility, kindness, and self-control. And people should please go on the website to bcsd.org/believer to nominate deserving individuals. And these three people are really, really deserving individuals that we're super excited to have recognized. First up, Henry Westbrooks, if you could come on up, please, along with... And the French Road Principal, Mrs. Coggins. And our nominator, Eileen Kaufman, a parent in the district, if you could come on up also, please. So Aileen, Ada, and Hannah are here as well. Henry Westbrooks, a security guard at French Road Elementary School, nominated by all three of you, I'm assuming. But Aileen putting voice to it. A parent in the district, she wrote, Henry demonstrates kindness in his work every day. He is always a smiling and friendly face when you enter the school. He demonstrates respect and integrity in his work and takes the time to remember everyone's names. I'm always so happy to see Henry at the school. He is warm and welcoming to the kids and adults. He always shows responsibility in his work and demonstrates the character traits that we strive for in Brighton. So on a personal note, I'll say this to you in terms of remembering names. If you're anywhere near Henry at a high school event, he works at French Road, but at a high school event, kids swarm him, first of all. Second, he knows every one of their names. So when we talk about safety, there's the brick and mortar safety, there's the procedure, the plan, safety, but a big part of keeping people safe is helping them feel welcome and secure, knowing them, knowing the people that you're working with. There is nobody in this entire district, in my opinion, that exemplifies that better than Henry Westbrooks. We're incredibly proud of your work, and thank you for demonstrating it for all of us. Thank you very much.
I'm nervous, but thank you. But I want to say one thing. The kids make my job. I love these kids, and I would do anything for these kids.
And that shows. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next recipient is Betsy Paddock. Betsy, could you come on up? Danielle Edmonds, could you come with her, please? And an anonymous nominator. So I guess they're not going to come up, whoever it might be, but an anonymous nominator. An assistant principal. Betsy Paddock is an assistant principal at 12 Corners Middle School, nominated anonymously. And the nominator wrote, Betsy, the counseling queen herself. You continuously open your arms to students and staff with your funny sayings, loving ways, and honest perspective. Betsy, your spirit is so refreshing, approachable, and reality-based through transitions, tragedies, pandemics, and everyday realities. You're always there. The constant in a school community, and this really sums it up. Quote, no matter where you go, there you are, unquote. So very proud to know and celebrate you. We thank the anonymous nominator. I also say very personally, again, as a dad who's watched you do this with my own children, We're so very fortunate for the way you lead all of us, support our kids, and everybody in the school community with energy, enthusiasm, love, and kindness. Thank you.
I do know that people may have homework commitments.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
Oh, I have one more? I'm so sorry.
We
Go
want them
ahead.
to
Go
stay to
ahead.
celebrate
No,
this
no,
last
I
one.
apologize. I apologize.
It's a
Thank
whole
you.
other family.
Thank you.
He's so anxious for you guys to be able to go. That's what it is. Kristen Cooper, could you come on up, please, along with Barb Flender? With Barb Flender and Matt Tappan. Kristen Cooper, a physical education teacher at Council Rock Primary School, was nominated by Barb Flender, a physical therapist in the district. Barb wrote, prior to having her own family of young children, she coached both varsity and junior varsity basketball. She didn't just coach basketball. Kristen coached her players on how to be kind and confident human beings. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Boy, you should be so proud of your mom. I believe those young women were positively influenced by Kristen's approach and support for life. As a PE teacher, Kristen exceeds everyone's possible expectation. She is energetic, motivated, creative, and caring. For approximately 10 years, Kristen was the only PE teacher at Council Rock Primary School, and we shared the space. On the rare days she was out, she would come into work early in the morning to set up the gym for the substitute teacher. Just to be sure everything would run smoothly, she said. Kristen creates lessons for her students that meet state standards, but are also fun and meaningful for the children. Her lessons are always developmentally appropriate, with room for differentiation for varying skill levels. Kristen is the adapted physical education teacher at Council Rock. This role requires a significant amount of patience and imagination. Kristen has been incredibly open to my suggestions to meet the needs of some of our students with significant gross motor and intellectual needs. Kristen is always displaying integrity by doing what is best for our students, even when it means dragging out some heavy equipment for just over 30 minutes so that a student may participate. Kristen Cooper is an incredible asset to the Brighton community. She represents our district as a whole and each individual child. Kristen meets children where they are and makes an effort to improve all students' confidence and self-esteem. Kristen also teaches our students how to demonstrate all of the Brighton Blues character traits in every one of her classes. I am so grateful to have the opportunity to work so closely with Kristen. Our community, our school are so very lucky to have Kristen in our corner. Again, I also say as a dad who's had the tremendous gift of having you as my children's teacher, we are so very blessed for your work. Thank you, Kristen. Mr. Tappan, I feel like you have a story to tell. The microphone's open, but in any case. All right, well, thank you very much. Those are the Brighton Believes Awards for this evening, Mr. Davis.
Thank you. Now I will say, some of you may have homework commitments or other commitments or gotta go to bed at some point commitments, but we are more than happy for you to stay for a 13 or 14 slide presentation on tonight's budget. Otherwise, you're welcome to slip out now, and we'll give you a minute to be able to do that. Thank you again for coming tonight. Congratulations to our winners.
What happened? Older than Peggy. Her oldest is older than Peggy. She's been with us that long.
Yeah. I remember when she was.
Our Our agenda, we have the proposed 2024-2025 budget presentation and budget hearing. Dr. McGowan.
Drawing a crowd as usual for the presentation, I'll jump in. This is a very brief synopsis, as it is the official budget hearing. In case people do have questions, you've heard this multiple times. You have adopted this budget for a vote for the community for their consideration on May 21st. This is simply reporting publicly in a public hearing space the information that we've already presented, but that has also been presented to the community in the budget newsletter, which people should have received. If they have not, we have additional copies of those. We're more than happy to answer any questions and provide that information to people. The budget information being given to you tonight, again in summary, is the revenue summary, the appropriation by function and object, a summary of both, the budget detail by function, summary of staffing, the property tax report card, New York State report card, school report card, assessor's report, and the administrative compensation information, all available on the budget website and summarized in great detail in this particular presentation. We set out, as we have said multiple times now, to meet several priorities in the budget, which were to minimize the tax impact. Of course, we've talked about that quite a bit over time, making sure that we understand the significant cost that this work is for our school district, for our school community. Ensure that resources are targeted to meet student needs and the staff needed to support those particular needs, which are emerging and changing all the time. Maintain our fiscal stability. Any budget has an impact for several years to come, and make sure that we're supporting new and innovative programs, again, particularly those that we are focusing on meeting student needs. The budget summary is an increase of 4.76% overall in terms of spending, but our non-property tax revenues go up 8.89%. The real property tax levy will go up 1.88% next year, which is compliant with the New York State property tax cap. And on the right-hand side, you see a pie chart essentially breaking down the significant areas of spending in the budget. That requires, the areas requiring additional budget allocations from the 23-24 adopted to 24-25 proposed, the percentage increases. And tuition mandated services are up 29%, contractual obligations up 35%. Another big cost increase for us was contract transportation at 13%. New positions, class size, mental health support up just 4% in the budget. Our debt service up 11%. And the inflationary adjustments, which people are seeing in their homes as well, operations utilities up 8% in this spending plan. The estimated tax impact is illustrated by this particular bar chart, but in comparison to the consumer price index increases over a period of time. If you match the colors up in years, for example, 4.1% is 24-25 for CPI, but our tax increase far less than that, just 1.88%. So the consumer price index far outpacing what we're presenting to taxpayers in terms of their cost increase for this consumer-driven service that we provide. Last year, as a matter of fact, it was up 8%, CPI was, and our tax increase was 1.75%. And you see the year before, we were, again, about half of the total CPI increase. So we've been able to really create a lower tax increase compared to what people's increases are for those items that would be listed in the consumer price index. And I think what we're all experiencing, whether it's at the gas pump or at the supermarket, we've been able to keep that growth much less. Positions in next year's budget are important to recognize and consider. That makes up the increase, of course, in the overall spending in the budget. We say often that people's salaries are not going up 4.76%, but rather the spending in that area will go up that much. And that is due to, yes, those contractual increases, but also the number of positions. So the 23-24 budget allocated 673.7 positions, and in this spending plan, we're presenting a proposal of 677.76 positions, and that accounts for changes in program, continuing to look at reduced class size, and enrollment-driven decisions that land us at more positions going into next year. This particular bar chart is a breakdown of the three parts of our budget. Every school budget is required to report out to you the three different distinct sections of the budget: the capital, administrative, and program budget. And you see the capital portion has gone up to 13% over a period of time. That's up 3% from 2013-14. That's the money we need to continue to revitalize our facilities. And our administrative component has stayed relatively flat over a period of time. We're at 10% going into next year. And the larger portion, the program budget, is at 77%. In other words, the vast majority of spending in the budget is on program. It's being driven by the program for students, not by administrative costs, not by capital costs. Those are important as well, but that most of our spending goes directly towards programs for students. Important to take a look with a little bit more of a fine-tooth comb at where those positions are that we've talked about, that increase in about 4 positions year over year. The middle piece of this points them out in particular. These are changes in parts and wholes and pieces across the board to accommodate class changes, to accommodate class size changes. For example, increasing class size adjustment 2 positions, grades 1 through 5, and then adding the Aspire program at the middle school, expanding what is currently a 9 through 12 program, creating that school within a school, that smaller environment that we've talked about here in several of the presentations, really accounting for the bulk of the changes. There are reductions in some areas as well in order to support the addition of the other positions. And these are largely driven by enrollment, changes to scheduling relative to what electives will be available, perhaps less sections. We're not cutting electives, but rather maybe having to cut some sections based on enrollment, but also to afford other things in the budget as well. So we feel like we'll accommodate that. It just will require more flexibility and in some cases less choice as students try and build their schedule, and as our students usually do, try and pack in as many classes and electives as they possibly can, which we still would like to honor. You'll see 2 positions not being hired at the bottom, teacher of the deaf and teacher visually impaired. We're still providing that service, but through BOCES, not through positions that are funded in this portion of the budget. Property tax report card, just pointing out a couple of the highlights to you. Again, the budgeted amount changing is 4.76% on the far right-hand side, in the middle of the page, top number, resulting, after you look at the revenue being received, in a 1.88% tax levy increase. So the total amount being collected, the levy amount will go up that much, which is, again, cap compliant. And that's all interesting to compare to the number all the way at the bottom, 4.12%, which again is that CPI number. So we are far below what people are paying in terms of increases other places. And on the property tax report card, we also have the balances reported on the right-hand side of this slide and available for our community to preview in each of the reserves. These reserves can only be spent on those particular items. The only reserve that we have ever is the unappropriated fund balance that could be spent to reduce the levy, which we are using as a revenue source, and we do every year. That's the surplus at the end of the year that we're able to put towards next year's tax levy to reduce that total amount being collected. And some of that surplus then can be put into these reserve accounts. Our community has established these reserve accounts through prior votes with the cap and the duration of those reserves. We have gone through at different times and asked for reauthorizations. And in several of them, we have to ask for permission to be able to spend out of those reserves. A couple of examples, for example, the building reserve we would have to ask to spend. The tax surcharge reserve is for tax claims where people feel as though they have been overtaxed and can make that particular claim. Unemployment reserve can be used to pay for unemployment expenses, etc. ERS and TRS reserves are used to really soften any significant increase in those areas that we're not able to budget for. So it's good to have those reserves set aside for those particular reasons also. We really feel like, again, the budget is a numerical expression of our values in this district. And we talk a lot about our priorities, about the blueprint plan, and about what people are getting for their investment in the program. So this really shows somebody what the prospectus is. This is what you're getting for your investment. And we continue to feel as though these points of pride are important to point out. It is what people are paying for. A very, very high graduation rate. More kids taking AP courses than ever before, and that this achievement is for all students in all groups across the district, not just for some students. A tremendous number of roster spots and in athletics, opportunities in the arts, and really great accomplishments in terms of, on the right-hand side, the different types of awards and recognitions that has been received for the work in the district. Again, all what's being funded by our school community. What is the bottom line? The bottom line here really just shows you simply that in Brighton next year, at a home value of $250,000, we, with that tax levy increase, we're looking at an increase of $129, and in Pittsburgh, $213. And the reason for that is in the middle of the page, when we look at the equalization rates between the two towns, the Office of Real Property Tax provides an equalization rate so that properties assessed in two different taxing jurisdictions are being fairly taxed. They give a rate because those have two different assessors and two different systems for that assessment. Again, the summary, our spending is up 4.76%, the tax levy 1.88%, or as we pointed out before, $129 on a home value at $250,000 on the bulk of our properties. And it really reflects our continued investment in the priority areas from the blueprint, mental health and wellness, academic excellence to student and family experience, staff support, collaborative culture, and safety and planning for the future. So we've minimized the tax increase as much as we possibly can, ensuring that we have the resources available to support our students while maintaining our fiscal stability and supporting new and innovative programs. Again, a great example being that Aspire program at the middle school to continue to support the needs and the emerging needs of our students. Don't forget to vote not next Tuesday, May 21st, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. right in this building, and all the voting information is provided again in that budget newsletter that should have been received by all the residents of the school community. Any questions for me?
No, I'll reiterate that this did go out, so everybody should have this. Also, as always, all of the information you just discussed is on the school website as well, and people can access any of that, and also can query a board member or anybody in the administration about any budget questions. We're completely transparent in that regard. Questions or comments from the board? Vote on the 21st, 2 weeks from tonight.
Well, I forgot to ask Kim and Dan if we've gotten confirmation, and I asked this in honor of our dearly departed friend Gretchen Schaefer. Are there food trucks from Kiwanis on Tuesday the 21st? I don't think we've gotten confirmation, but I believe there will be. So perhaps there will be food trucks, but we'll clarify as well. That'll be advertised in the District E-News through Kiwanis. They are talking about it. I don't know if they've confirmed that they'll actually be here, but hopefully if people want to come up for a bite, that will be available to them as well. And I just want to again say thank you for your support through the budget process and your guidance as a Board of Education. But the financial leadership of our Deputy Superintendent Lou is just unsurpassed by anybody that does this work. So we appreciate that. But all of the budget makers here who contribute to this throughout the process, thank you for that as well. Thanks.
Thank you. As is the case with every public meeting, we provide the opportunity for participation, to hear questions or comments from the public. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. You all have obviously received tonight's agenda. Any questions or comments with regards to the agenda? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Karen, seconded by Carrie Lynn. All those in favor? Approval of the minutes from our last meeting on April 30th, which was, yes, just a week ago, because April and May timing is funny. You've had a chance to review those minutes. Any questions or edits or comments on those minutes? Motion to approve the April 30th, 2024 education meeting minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Eleanor,
Second.
seconded by Esther. All those in favor? Next up, we're going to get some great updates here. First up are the financial reports. We've got 3 different reports on tonight's agenda. The budget status report for the period ending March 31st, the treasurer's report for the period ending March 31st, and then a financial report of student activities at BHS and TCMS for the period ending March 31st, 2024. These do require approval. Are there any questions with regards to these reports? You've had a chance to review them. Motion to approve the tonight's financial reports. Moved by Carrie Lynn.
Second.
Seconded by Esther. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up is our student representative, Layla.
Alright, so AP exam season is among us this week and next week. As for sports, the Brighton Lacrosse is hosting a bowling night fundraiser this Saturday on the 11th at Radio Social. With clubs, Key Club has helped at a meal service event at Asbury Church. Climate Club held their annual climate summit on Earth Day with multiple guests around Rochester to discuss different topics relating to the environment and how one can make a difference. Chemistry Club held a meeting where they learned about pH and varying pH levels and how they could change the color of cabbages. Friends of Rachel Music Production Club and Brighton on Board, in collaboration, hosted a mixer in the library with a variety of fun decorations, music, and board games. Brighton Mock Trial won semifinals at the Brighton Town Court and ended their season at the Monroe County Finals. Brighton's Physics Science Olympiad team attended the RIT High School Physics Olympiad, with 2 of our teams taking first and second place. Red Cross Club is hosting a blood drive with the American Red Cross this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. As for exec, we are still finalizing Springfest details and currently planning student council elections. In other news, the high school presented A Midnight Summer's Dream with a romanticized 1950s twist at the end of April, and they also held a scavenger hunt to give away front row tickets in 50s themed candy basket. Additionally, the high school and middle school co-hosted a spring day of dance in mid-April with dance workshops that covered a variety of dance styles, including jazz and hip-hop. That's it.
Wow, a lot going on. Thank you, Layla. Board of Education. First, our Monroe County School Board Association updates. From a labor relations perspective, we had a meeting on April 24th, and it was an update with regards to health costs and progress thus far on trying to maintain medical costs, medical insurance, and things like that. We get this update every year. Good stuff happening there. I'll echo something that Dr. McGowan said a minute ago, and that is grateful for the work of Lou Limo, Dahlia Watson, all the folks who sort of handle some of that stuff, as well as Lisa Hartman. So my thanks to them. Information exchange.
We had a meeting on April 17th. It was the last meeting for the school year, and we learned about what we would need to do as a board if we needed to find a new superintendent and what the process looks like through 2 different avenues. So it was educational, and we wrapped up the season.
Great, thank you. Legislative.
We met last in April. It will be our last meeting. There was potential for a meeting in May if the budget had not yet passed, but we have thankfully passed our budget for New York State. We met with Regent Hale. It's our tradition to invite the regents to our last meeting. Regent Hale always has a fascinating conversation in store for us. He's very focused on graduation requirements and seeing our high school graduates across New York State leave with real world applicable skills. So as always, a great opportunity to learn about his own experiences in school and in the workforce and in workforce development.
Thank you. Busy year this year for legislative. I'll quickly hit BOCES. Mark Kokanovich, our former board president, grateful to have him representing our community at Monroe 1 BOCES. Quick update from him. They, like us, have reviewed and discussed the district code of conduct and the district safety plan, have received quarterly steering committee reports from the Monroe 1 BOCES cabinet, and approval was given to engage in a professional services contract with LaBelle Associates for an engineering study of the Monroe 1 Transportation Center for electrification of the Monroe 1 bus fleet. So like all the school districts, we're looking at electrification for buses based on state legislation and trying to understand that. So as always, we appreciate Mark's time on behalf of the community and more specifically, kids in our school district. Other board member reports. I will start with Dr. Lee and then move down towards Carrie Lynn.
All right, I'm reading the report for Dr. Gasparino, actually, who couldn't be with us tonight. She says that she attended the district-wide safety committee on Thursday, April 25th. They discussed district protocols and procedures for community activity, demonstrations, and protests that may impact arrival and dismissal at 12 Corners. They brainstormed with parents, Brighton police, firefighters, and members of our staff and administration about communicating and suggesting alternative routes to and from school when a known gathering is at 12 Corners. And they also discussed an update on the workplace violence prevention program with a roundtable discussion. That's from Dr. G.
Thank you.
Karen?
Next. Last week I attended the Monroe County School Boards Association Law Conference. We do it twice a year. We reviewed the importance, we work with local and New York State attorneys to talk about some of the issues facing schools and school boards. So we talked about the importance importance of keeping updated policy manuals. And I think that we do a good job with this in terms of our ongoing review. For instance, we have first read of 3 policies tonight. Some districts do that all in one meeting over the summer. They review their entire policy manual. I enjoy doing it in chunks so that we're constantly up to date. We talked about changes in Title IX guidance. And some of this is new and emerging, but in particular talked about some of the newer court decisions regarding athletic participation. And then artificial intelligence, which is, again, an emerging field. And some of the interesting conversation was around artificial intelligence as it relates potentially to codes of conduct. So an interesting conversation, I think, for us to have in the future.
Esther?
Nothing new to report from the last meeting. Our final school-based equity team for the high school is meeting May 23rd, and Curriculum Council wrapped up our work for this school year already. I'm very proud of the work that we did and everything that we explored in that with that team.
Great. Thank you. Eleanor?
I have nothing new to report from our last meeting.
Thank you. Carrie Lynn?
Ditto, nothing new to report.
We're going to hear a whole lot of construction things tonight with progress going on in a number of projects, so I won't probably get into some of the OACM activities, but suffice to say, as always, from a physical plan perspective, we have a lot going on. We have a lot actually being done, planning in process, and being designed. So appreciative of our fantastic buildings team and all they do. Next up, the BTA. Nicole.
Hi. So I have all sorts of things. I'm pull up that wonderful live inspired.
So say it's such a
Such a very, the festival
Colorful.
is coming.
Mr. Benedict and Crystal Stack Buckteeth have a first grade ICT class, and they've been integrating sign language into their class to give directions, support transitions. They use the SEL zones of regulation curriculum, and they had a student from St. John Fisher, Marin Roy, come, and she helped them expand their repertoire with sign language and combined the ESL with the SEL zones with the sign language, and students were able to share or explain their feelings in their community circle that they have every day, and sign up to 20 different feelings. For curriculum night, first grade curriculum night, they actually posted these in the hallway with a QR code that parents could scan and hear an explanation of what the feeling was. But there's some really great pictures of them, you know, like I'm bored, I'm proud, I'm nervous, I'm sick. It was really, really amazing. In PE, this is something that Coach Cooper and Coach Grigger have been doing. They've been learning about lifetime fitness. They bring in all sorts of guests. So they had a sensei come in and teach karate, really trying to build on the habits of mind also with that. And then Kristen and Max are always doing these amazing things. They had some drumming units and a dance unit. So they actually set up all of these buckets with the balls and the drums and learn how to do different dances and then do drums with certain songs. And then we had the drummers come with the steel band, and that was great too. It was just an amazing connection. And again, working on those gross motor skills, fine motor skills, and the habits of mind. Mrs. Ayala's class had a parent come in and teach about Eid, and each student was able to make a charity jar to take home, and I just love the smiles in all of those. I couldn't resist all of those pictures. Also in Mrs. Ayala's class, they one of the things we really love to explore is using Book Creator for students to have research and then turn it into a book that they can then share and put into a digital library. So they did that also. This is from the Friendship Garden was really wonderfully used this year by Mrs. Tisa, but Carol Flanagan, one of our math specialists, submitted all of this because she was doing small lessons about the habits of mind with them. So in February, they were striving for accuracy and celebrating the leap year, so they were measuring their leaps. And then there's the sun ones. And then in April, they practice finding humor by going out to the garden to tell jokes. And then they also found bulbs sprouting of ones, or blooming of ones that they had planted in the fall. So really great use of that space.
Pictures of snow still threw me off for a second.
I do too, I agree, yeah.
And then this is just a wonderful series of photos and a great experience. Liz Porta and Andrea Yaman developed an after-school STEM club, and they used the New York State Science Standards and chose topics to really provide engineering opportunities and expand more with physical science. So they had, originally they were going to do 2 sessions. They ended up doing 3 sessions because there were so many students who wanted to participate. It was all 2nd grade. They would meet in the Hab Lab and have a lesson and then get right to work. So you can see some of their engineering challenges. They made a marble run, and this was great to walk in the hallway after school and just see tape and tubes everywhere. They also learned about matter and surface tension and made little bridges, so that's the next series of photos. And then they learned about how gas takes up space and how atoms and molecules behave differently, and then turned that into ice cream. So you can kind of see at the end Ms. Porta and Mrs. Yaman enjoying the ice cream. It was a great experience. TCMS, YMCA, let's see if I can get all my acronyms, partnered with Brighton Schools to support the Camp Forum Scholarship Fund in memory of Laura and Larry Davis Jr., which provides support for students to attend 2 weeks of camp in the Adirondacks. So 7 campers will be going to that, and then they asked if I provide the link, so it's right there on the tent if you would like to join that. Also in April, TCMS and BHS students joined with Fairport High School in a field trip to see the authors Jason Reynolds and Brendan Keeley. They're award-winning authors. I highly recommend you click on that link because the little presentation put together is amazing. They're grateful for the support of Fairport High School, Fairport Public Library, Brighton Education Fund, and the BCSD PTSA, Friends of Brighton Memorial Library, and BCSD for their support. At the high school, Mr. Ogden brought the Brighton Rowing Club to South Carolina, and 23 athletes went and were able to get in the equivalent of 10 good practice sessions that would have been canceled if it were here in Rochester because of weather. Last year they had a student go to state championship, and 2 other boats received invitations to the U.S. Rowing Youth National Championships. And then, just as Layla was saying, the RIT High School Physics Olympiad, they were able to place 1st and 2nd out of 20 teams from across New York State. Both teams finished well ahead. All of the students are juniors in Mr. Allen's AP Physics C course. And they were honored the 4th, so last week. And that is it.
Hey.
I say this all the time, but it's true. Fantastic pictures, and thank you so much for the updates. It's great, like you said, to see kids smiling and working and trying to figure things out, which is what we're supposed to talk about. So thank you for taking the time to put that together. PTSA report, Dr. Love.
Hi, everyone. So there are 2 PTSA reports from the schools this evening. The first is from Council Rock. In April, the hospitality chairs Jillian Vermont and Megan Gianforti provided snacks for the staff meetings at CRPS, and the PTSA would like to thank the families for donating and thank the hospitality chairs for organizing the event. There was an ice cream social actually held on 3 different evenings in April, the 16th, 17th, and 18th. There was a wonderful turnout and lots of ice cream was sold. And the PTSA would like to extend a special thanks to Susan Hollister for overseeing the ice cream social. The book fair was also held on those same evenings in April, the 16th, 17th, and 18th. And in addition, the PTSA partnered with a local bookstore called Hippocampo Books. And this year, the book fair was set up in the Hab Lab space for the first time, and it was a great experience. The PTSA thanks Julie Lane and Megan Blasey for all of their efforts. For Bus Appreciation, which occurred on April 23rd, Kate Georgie's put together and passed out thank you bags with cookies for all the drivers. And on May 2nd, there was a meeting with the principals event that focused on the transition from CRPS to FRES. And then for 12 Corners Middle School, the PTSA hosted game night in the TCMS auditorium on April 29th. And students from FRES and some parents gathered to play classic games such as Uno, Apples to Apples, Battleship, and air hockey. It was a modest event, and next year the organizers plan to host game night in November and March. And finally, there was an 8th grade spring disco dance held on Saturday, April 20th. It was well attended and enjoyed by the people who were able to make it. And it concludes the announcements for the PTSA report. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for the update. Dr. McGowan, anything else you would like to add?
I have a few items. First of all, there are food trucks. We just don't have the confirmed roster. There are food trucks.
Thank you.
Long
So
live
on
the
May
spaghetti
21st,
dinner.
Long live
Yes.
spaghetti.
Come hungry, again, in honor of Gretchen Schaefer. So proud of our kids. The Muslim Student Association, or Student Union, and Jewish Student Union organized a 7-minute moment of silence on the 7th anniversary today of the atrocities on October 7th in Israel. And it was just a beautiful moment where, quite honestly, it reminded a lot of us adults that kids have it figured out, and often taking our lead from them is helpful. Very, very sweet. A lot of good conversations between kids about just honoring humanity and that's not a political issue. Very proud of them. There will be another dialogue. Again, this is all organized and led by kids, and it was not for adults. It wasn't for the community. It wasn't for the media, despite their desire to participate. That was not what we were looking for or what kids wanted. We'll see a dialogue coming up facilitated by students. Similar kinds of conversations supported by the Levine Center. Really excited for that. Also, again, not a community event, not an adult event. This is a kid-driven event for students to participate in. So really excited about that. This is Staff Appreciation Week. Nicole, please, of course, send our feelings of appreciation. I know we've said it, but we'll say it again. The work happens here only because of the people, you and the people that you do it with, and how much that's appreciated. There is a survey out. People have been reminded multiple ways, multiple times. Jeff Green used his fantastic radio voice to send a robocall to everybody yesterday, asking them to fill that survey out. That's using Thought Exchange, but in a survey format, very different. It's a new platform to be able to gather information. In previous years, we used the panorama data. It was a little bit clunky in terms of the vehicle itself. We're really excited for a different format to that, to really dig into information, but we would strongly encourage people to participate in that. And it really revolves around belonging and support on the SEL side, the social emotional side of things. People will see sometime late May, early June, thought exchanges that are asking essentially relative to the blueprint, what do we need to be thinking about? What should we be doing differently? What should we be looking at? And we'll be pushing hard on that. This is separate from that. This is really way more about individual supports for kids and feelings of belonging and inclusion. So need those results. So we do use all of that over the summer to drive a lot of our programming and changes. So many great reminders of what we do this time of year. If you have a chance to participate or attend a senior night or any of the concluding activities, it's really special to be a part of and a great reminder of kids and families and how incredible the work is and the journey is for kids here K through 12. We will celebrate Dr. Rio this week, the GVASCD Curriculum Leader of the Year. Very excited about that. on, I get to recognize Hannah Marangola tomorrow night at the Monroe County Superintendent's Outstanding Senior Dinner, a really outstanding individual in this year's senior class. And we're all super excited for the newly, as you've heard multiple times today, named Dr. Christina Lee, who completed defensive Thank you.
Thank you. Next couple we have talked about in the past, but these are approval of professional services contracts. First, for the architectural and engineering services for the design of the 2023-24 Phase 2 CIP. We've been through this a lot. This is, I'm not going to be able to do this correctly. I think it's this third or fourth of the bigger projects as we move along. And I forget the order, Lou, and I should know it, so I apologize. But continuing to do the work on the buildings that get walked in and on by 3,400 kids and a whole bunch of staff every day. This was approved in February. Questions with regards to this professional services contract. These are specifically with SEI, which are our architects, the mechanical engineers, and some of the traffic engineers. Both this one we're going to vote for first and this next one. Questions with regards to item number 8, which is the professional services contract, architectural and engineering. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Karen.
Second.
Seconded by Esther. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up is the approval of a professional services contract, engineering services for the design of a traffic signal at the new driveway entrance opposite Newton Drive and for modifications to the existing pedestrian crossing to install hawk signals. So a lot there in that sentence. We are continuing in the process of designing with the expanded space at the high school parking lot, safer egress and entrance. And this is the design that we would have to complete to get approval. So if somebody says, do we have approval yet? We don't, because we need to design it first, review it, and then get approval. But this is for the professionals who do this type of work, to do that type of work for us. Questions with regards to item 9, which is that long 3 or 4 line sentence I just read.
I would just note for the public who's very excited about this project, as am I, that approval of the design process still means we have a number of years ahead of us before we would get to any sort of implementation of this project.
This is an excellent disclaimer, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was going to say, ask Lou to correct me if I'm wrong in my math. So if we approve contracts now, design underway, we're talking at least through the rest of this year to complete that design. Not school year, but calendar year. And then we're looking at probably, depending, unless anything changes with SED, nearly a year for approval. And then on top of that, the bid process, we break ground likely, so if I said end of 24,
26,
end of 25, hopefully breaking ground at some point in 26. So when people are thinking, my kid's going to play softball on that field or baseball on that field, just calculate when your kid's going to graduate, because it takes a while, and that's just the nature of the process, to do things the legal way, appropriate way, and right way. That's how long it takes.
We have a lot of partners.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, we have a lot of partners to work with, and some of them will require approval, so I do appreciate the clarification. Having said all that, any questions with regards to this item? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Carrie Lynn.
Second.
Seconded by Eleanor. All those in favor? Next up, working with some of our staff, Dr. McGowan mentioned staff appreciation. First is the approval of the tentative agreement with the Brighton Education Paraprofessionals Association. Dr. McGowan, do you want to comment on this or the next one?
Well, so there are a couple of different contract approvals. I would just say that these are collectively bargained with both this association and the custodial association, and we work really closely in partnership with both groups to make sure we're paying a fair wage, a competitive wage, maintaining competitiveness in the marketplace, but really honoring the contribution of people that do so much in this district for so many. And you know, thinking about all the different cost pressures, whether that's the increase in minimum wage, compression in that scale, but also, again, competitiveness in the market, but more than anything, honoring the contribution that's given to the district, come to both of these mutually agreed upon agreements.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Motion to approve this tentative agreement.
So moved.
I'm going to say moved by Esther and seconded by Eleanor. All those in favor?
Aye.
In line with that, for item number 11, approval of the tentative agreement with the Brighton Custodial Maintenance Association. Questions, comments? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Karen,
Second.
seconded by Dr. Lee. All those in favor? Aye. The motion is approved. Approval of the BOCES cooperative bid, music equipment and supplies. As we always know with these BOCES bids, we capitalize on teaming with other school districts and organizations to be able to maximize cost. I'm sorry, minimize cost, maximize savings. Let's make sure I say that correctly. Dan, please make sure that's noted correctly in the minutes. Maximize savings, minimize cost. Questions with regards to this BOCES cooperative bid? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Esther,
Second.
seconded by Eleanor. All those in favor?
Aye.
We also have 3 first read policies. All 3 of these are being updated to comply with changes in laws or regulations. And I'll read each one of them. Policy 5674, non-instructional business, data networks and security access. Policy 6121, personnel, sexual harassment in the workplace. Policy 5677, non-instructional business, privacy and security for student and staff, data computer control for financial network and systems. This is a first read. We will have these on a future agenda as well for a second read. Questions at this point on any of these 3 policies? Motion to approve the 3 policies for a first read.
So moved.
Moved by Carrie Lynn,
Second.
seconded by Esther. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, we have the consent agenda, which includes approval of personnel changes, which you've had a chance to review, approval of recommendations from the Committee on Special Education and the Committee on Preschool Special Education. We have 2 fundraising activities listed here: Friends of the Arts in Brighton, art show concessions at the high school on May 21st, and Friends of the Arts in Brighton again, online donation honoring retirees, May 17th through August 31st. Money collected in honor of retirees will be dispersed and donated to an initiative the retiring teacher has designated. Finally, gifts. We have a gift from the Allstate Foundation in the amount of $1,000 to Brighton High School Athletic Department. Nice gift. Questions with regards to any of those items on the consent agenda? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Eleanor,
Second.
seconded by Carrie Lynn. All those in favor?
Aye.
2 reminders. Budget vote, May 21st, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. in this building. We have confirmed there will be food trucks. We just need to get them lined up. And finally, as always, first thank the tech team. We get here and everything works. We're all set up. So our thanks to Simon, Bill, and Mike. Our thanks to Dan Goldman. Our thanks to Kim Lanzafame, who get everything set up and taken care of for us. Our appreciation to them. Anything else for the good of the order? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Karen.
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lee.
Dr. Lee.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
This has been a special presentation from the Brighton Central School District Board of Education.